Applying to architecture school is the beginning of the greatest adventure of your career. It's a change that you need to make, but you also realize what a daunting investment of both your time and money this decision has become. And the more that you research what to do and the next steps to take, the more unsure you are of the long journey ahead of you. So first, if I haven't said it already, congratulations. To make the decision to apply to architecture school is huge. It is a big life change, and it's really, really exciting. You're now in this honeymoon phase of researching schools and programs, the cities those programs are in, professors that you can study under, alumni of the program, and all of the courses that you may have the ability to take. You can look at tuition and scholarships and funding. Is there travel? I mean, it's just really fun, right? And you're realizing that by saying yes to architecture school, you are now opening the door to all of these possibilities that you didn't know were in your future at any point, right? So again, I commend you, and it is just a really great place to be in. So hi, my name is Miranda, and I'm a recent graduate of the Yale School of Architecture. I am now a practicing designer. I'm picking my studio practice back up, and I spent this year as an assistant professor of architecture, working with both sophomores and juniors in a 5-year MArch program. So how did I get here? It's been some time, and I'll quickly relay this so we can jump into really what I want to talk about in this video. So my journey to architecture began in 2020 when I was working as a full-time artist. There came a point where I realized the ambition of what I wanted to make had outgrown my skill set. And after a few really hard-fought rejections, I realized that maybe school was the next step for me. I was terrified. I was an artist, like I said, and I didn't know where to start. I had friends who were architects, and I had walked alongside of them in their journey to architecture school, so I knew exactly what this meant for me. Positive and negative, positives and negatives, right? So I began researching, and the more that I saw online, the more of a misfit I felt like. The things that I saw, the portfolio reviews on YouTube, the InDesign layouts that I saw on Pinterest really didn't align with the things that I had ready to be documented, right? And as an artist, you're so rarely asked to compile a portfolio or a book of your work. It's pretty standard to just give off one image at a time with titles and size and dimensions and materials. So it was a little terrifying. That's how I'll put it. But it was also really exciting. I began researching programs and trying to think of what would be a good fit for me, an artist with this Mod Podge portfolio of public work and research and some sculptures, but we'll talk more on that later. So in the summer of 2020, I made this decision that architecture was the right step for me. So if you are in my position, here are 3 things that I would do again to ensure a successful application season. I know a lot of people bury the lead and they'll wait till the end to give you the best piece of advice, but I'm just going to give it to you right now. The most crucial thing that you can do to ensure a successful application season is to start early. And I'll say this for a few reasons. 1, if you start early, like I did, which felt a little more serendipitous because I just happened to have made this decision in May or June of 2020. And then there kind of began my application journey. But if you do start early, you will be able to enjoy the honeymoon phase, like I mentioned before, of researching programs and cities and tuition and scholarships and all of the things without getting overwhelmed or locked in to the nuts and bolts of the application just yet. Some of you may also be finishing your first degree, so congratulations, or trying to make the most of your gap year. So hear me out. Starting early gives you lots of time and ample opportunity to do the next few things. Starting early gives you ample opportunity to line up those critical letters of recommendation, or set your sights on a mentor who could eventually write you a letter of recommendation. You don't want to be coordinating these things in the fall when professors are already in full swing of their own semester. So please, please, please give them ample opportunity to do their best to give you the best shot at what you want in the future. Starting early also gives you time to fully research what an architecture degree entails. I feel like it's kind of the default, like, oh, I want to be a licensed professional and therefore I'm going to pursue this architecture degree. But when I speak to many of you, you are landscape curious, or like myself, I was very interested in looking at programs that had a dual degree in urban planning. And at one point, I even flirted with the idea of pursuing a PhD in urban planning. I was very ambitious at one point. And I used this time, this in advance, these couple months of kind of not having to be so strict about what I was doing every day, to give myself time to really think through these thought experiments of what it would look like long term for me if it was architecture or if it was really urban planning, so use this time wisely to think about the brevity of what the architecture discipline means to you. So starting early really gives you the best leg up in the next 6 to 8 months of your application journey. The second thing I would do if I were applying to architecture this fall is I would begin contacting alumni of the program. So you're starting early, you're researching programs, and you have a list, right? Like, if you don't have a list, feel free to steal mine. I have put a link in the description of 11 to 12 schools that I was researching in my own journey to architecture school. So feel free to give that a download. So now you have a list and you have the schools that you're interested in. And these are the things that I want you to do next. I want you to look on those schools' websites. I want you to find the student work. I want you to find the names of the diligent students who submitted their work to be posted to the website. I want you to find their LinkedIns. I want you to find their Instagram accounts. I want you to find their YouTubes, just like you found me, and I want you to reach out to them. We do not apply to a job blindly, and that is a whole discussion for another time. But why are you treating grad school that way? Why are you thinking that grad school is this thing that's behind some closed door, unobtainable until you get accepted? No, that's not true at all. You should be treating this like a networking opportunity. You should be reaching out to current students or alumni of programs and asking them all of your questions, right? Like, what were their personal statements about? What do you think made their portfolios stand out? What did they include in their portfolios? What would they have done differently? How was the moving experience? What were their scholarship offers like? And I say these things because there is the stereotype that there is nothing more that architects love to discuss other than architecture school, myself included, right? It is, again, this really exciting and incredible chapter of our careers, and there's a little bit of a trauma bond over it. So please, please, please just treat this like any other sort of networking opportunity and begin reaching out to people who could give you that inside information that might help level up your application. The third thing that I would do is get my portfolio reviewed. The portfolio is the most challenging part of your application. It is a design brief in itself to make a book of your work. It can create its own set of rules and kind of stipulations within the project itself of how you compose the page, how you align images, what font you use. All of these things must align and become the most kind of critical proof of concept of your application. It ties all of the parts together. It speaks to the ambition in your personal statements. It speaks to the accomplishments in your resume. It tells a story of who you are and where you are now, but also where you want to go and how you see yourself contributing to the professional field after graduation. So, again, it's a big, big step to begin your portfolio. You are collecting images, you are compiling project text and all the writing that you've done about your work, you're scanning sketches, you're doing all of the things that take ample time. So you'll get to a certain point where you're not sure of what this should look like. You are unsure of if it's the right length, if it's the right format, how are my layouts, how are projects reading, do things come across as concise, are my spreads making sense? And this is probably the point where you'll start asking people to look at your portfolio. You'll ask a friend or a colleague or a past professor, and you'll have some maybe good advice here and there, but the advice will feel a little disconnected. It'll feel like one person really loves a certain type of spread or layout or organization, and another person is like, I don't know, it's just not working, but I can't really tell you why. These are not comments that you want to hear, right? And honestly, maybe sometimes it feels too nice. Like, people should, when they look at your portfolio, be encouraging, but they should also be able to provide you with critical feedback and tangible next steps in order to make sure that your portfolio is on the level and aligned with the expectations of what an admissions committee will be expecting when they look through it, right? So over the last couple of years, I have met with so many of you looking at your portfolios, having Zoom chats about your own journey to architecture school, your ambition after graduation, and looking at your portfolios, looking at your layouts and your spreads and your projects. And if you feel like this is something that I can help you with, there is a link in the description. I'm now accepting portfolio reviews through October. And if you are unsure if this is the right move for you, please still feel free to reach out or drop a comment below, and we can talk about maybe what is the right next step for you. Are you ready for a portfolio review, or do you just still need some time to process and percolate on your portfolio? Because it does take a lot of time. The proof of concept for this is I had over 15 versions of my portfolio completed before I submitted my first application. And I didn't get there alone. I had a kind of inner circle of 2 or 3 really good friends of mine that had known my work since undergrad or directly after undergrad look at my portfolio. And I really trusted their advice and the way that they helped me pull projects together. And now I've really put those things into practice. I've spent the last year as an assistant professor of architecture helping students also compile portfolios, looking at their drawings, giving them critical feedback on how to improve their representation, how to improve their writing. And I'm so happy to be able to make those things more widely available now. So again, if you feel like this is something that I can help you with, please don't hesitate to reach out or go ahead and find that link in the description below. So to recap, you're starting early, you're contacting alumni of the program, and now you're getting your portfolio reviewed from an outside perspective. I'm going to leave you with one additional piece of advice that would have saved me so much stress and anxiety, and simply the thought that I wasn't doing enough or working hard enough. And that is, I want you to be so selective in the schools that you apply to. This will save you so much time and energy, and make sure that you are applying to schools that align with the future that you want for yourself. And I say this from 2 things. The first is that when I was applying to school, the blanket advice was apply to 8 to 10 schools. I ended up applying to 6, and I felt like such a failure because I couldn't hit that 8 to 10 mark. But then now I've had some time to reflect on this, and I've realized that no, I applied to the perfect amount of schools. I was able to tailor all of my portfolios to each of their application stipulations. I was able to tailor all of my letters of interest to every school specifically. And I had the time to review my portfolio and my letters and all of the parts before I submitted. It wasn't like submitting things at 11:58 p.m., which I know sometimes we have to do. But I was able to submit my applications confidently and comfortably. The second thing is that by tailoring your list of schools, you'll be less likely to chase acceptances. I think there is a little bit of elitism, or I don't know what else to call it, when students say, oh, I applied to 10 schools and I got into all 10, or I applied to all the Ivies and I got into all the Ivies. I want this to be kind of your green flag that there are worthwhile programs out there that don't exist on the East Coast or the West Coast. I taught at one, and I would be so happy to chat with you about it. I think some programs are often overlooked because they're not on those lists of schools to apply to. These are things that you need to consider, and you need to make this decision for yourself. This is I I think just as critical as the other things. Like, you just need to be selective about where you apply and where you put your energy. We don't have the capacity to submit the highest quality application if you are submitting to 8 to 10 schools. And so I really just encourage you from the bottom of my heart to just take a step back, look at the list of schools that you're applying to, why you're applying. Can you see yourself actually moving to those cities? Does it just feel like this pie in the sky ambition? I'll throw out an example for you. On my original list of schools that I was researching, I was looking at a couple international options. And when the fall rolled around and I was actually looking at submission deadlines and whether or not I was ready to A, pay those application fees, and B, could I meet the deadline in a timely fashion, the more I looked into the program, the more I looked into the move that it would require of me. So, for example, looking at an international program, I, before grad school, had my own life, had my own practice. I have two kind of middle-aged dogs. Was I ready to relocate them in a new country? And did I see myself living and practicing in that country after I graduated? And when some of those answers came back no, that was when I was like, okay, am I applying to this school because I really want to apply to this school? Or is it because I just want to get the acceptance letter? So I want you to feel encouraged by this. I want you to feel like, just because Columbia GSAP is a great program, can you really see yourself living and affording the New York lifestyle? There's just so many things to consider. So I'll leave you with that fourth and bonus piece of advice, because it is something that I really wish I had taken to heart, to not stress out as much as I did of, I only applied to 6 schools. What if I don't get in? I didn't give myself as many options as I should have. So there's that. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really hope that you enjoyed hearing about not only my journey to architecture school, but now you feel a little bit validated in the chaos of yours. And I wish you nothing but the best in your own journey. And I wish you all the luck. And if there's any way that I can help, again, please reach out. I'm always happy to chat and be kind of a sounding board for where you are and where you want to go. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.